Sing along if you feel my flow. Come on, sing that song. He has a plan in Jesus' name. He has his hand on our brand. Building and growing together. We can make it through any weather. So come along, don't be scared. Hands in the air if you're feeling the flow. Sing along with the song. Hey, life streaming together. Life streaming together. Sing along if you feel my flow.
Somebody say, hello, feel is home. You know how we do it in this space. We're trying to get our healing. Hey, it's Wade's word of the day. Wade's word of the day. Wade's word of the day. Wade's word of the day.
But I want you to understand this: on the other side of your challenge, on the other side of your situation, if you can trust him and believe him for it, is a blessing. There's a blessing on the other side. Man, what is going on, everybody? What is going on? It's Wade's word of the day. Wade's word of the day. What's going on, everybody? Come on into the space tonight. Holla at your boy. Let's talk. Who's hanging out with us? We see you, Denise Patterson. We see you, Nina Holmes. We see you, Audrey Barnes-Lee. Duchess Scott. Shakira Wade and others are coming into the space. Mon Dukes has made her way into the space as well. Somebody just give me a sound check. Let me know if I'm coming through good. If you're hearing me well, I certainly would appreciate that. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very much. Wow. Man, just grateful and thankful to be in this space with you all, hanging out with you all on this Friday evening. And y'all know when we come into this space, we don't come into this space to tear down, but we come to lift up, to encourage, to speak to those things that speak to us, all of those things. This is why we say to our negative thinking, no negative thinking. No stinking thinking, just positivity everywhere. Somebody ought to say, I know that's right, Pastor. And then certainly we tell our haters to put it where? Way back there, way back there behind us. We are putting them behind us, and we're not operating in fear, but we're operating in faith. That's why we say, hello, fear. Let's talk. That means we're showing up in space. We will not procrastinate. We will not delay, but we're showing up in space. We're going to participate in our destiny. We're going to participate in our destiny. And on this Friday, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But man, it feels good to get to Friday. Man, I needed Friday this week. And so I just want to say to somebody who may have struggled a little bit this week, who may have found it hard this week, I just want to encourage you with some old words. And sometimes repetition helps us to understand, to gain clarity and all of those particular things. So, hey, I just want to remind you on this Friday. Yeah. Hey, this is Wade with your 30 seconds of power. Now is not the time to give up. Now is not the time to quit. Hey, you made it this far, so don't give up until your miracle shows up. Don't give up until your miracle shows up. This has been your 30 seconds power. Don't give up Now is not the time to give up. Now is the time to keep on persevering. Yeah, yeah. Anybody gonna do that tonight? It's Friday. Friday, man. We just come to have a good time and everything like that. Not trying to get deep. I do want to answer a question that I didn't really get to at the end of last night's show, where we just asked you some questions. Let me know, those of you who were in the space on last night. First, what I need you to do, I need you to take your finger, let it do the typing, and holler at somebody. Tell them to come on in the space tonight. That's what we need you to do. Yeah, tag text, tell somebody, tell them to come on in the space and hang out with your boy. Also need you to hit them stars button. Hit them stars button on this Friday night. Yeah, let's try to activate that stars party if you don't mind. But certainly, man, holler at some folk on this Friday night. Yeah, it's kind of cold outside. So if you out there, you just like it, at least where I'm at, you just like the cold or whatever. It's nice and warm indoors in the studio. And so we hanging out in this space for a little while. But here it is. If you enjoyed on last night we just kind of asked you some questions, kind of got you thinking and talking. One, did you feel a sense of connection in the space? Yes or no? Two, did you enjoy that interactive part? Often in the space, I'm kind of doing the talking. You all are talking to one another, but I felt like last night we were talking to each other. So let me know if you enjoyed that. And so maybe, in 2022, we'll add a little bit of that to our repertoire, if you will. Right? So it's Friday. We really don't try to get deep. We don't do any of those things. We just kind of let our hair down. Unfortunately, I ain't got none. So, you know what I mean? So we just kind of, we just kind of enjoy one another in this space. Right? Is that all right? I thought it was wonderful. Thank you so much, Nina Holmes. You thought it was wonderful. All right. So let's get it going. Let's just have some fun tonight. Here we go.
Yo, yeah. Crash land in the palm of my hand. Bad little flex wanna play by the coast. Carry the torch, I'm way up in Slitty wherever we flow. I came from the cold, used to rest on the floor. I stitch up my wounds, was born a soldier. Flipping the struggle, I'm taking it worldwide. Hold it down when you talk to me. Say it is what it's supposed to be. Say it loud, but I mean it too, yeah. Talk that good when you talk to me. Say it nice and I give it to you.
Yeah. What'd you say? Yes, you agree. With Nina, we see you, Judy, and others in the space. So it's Friday. Yeah. So let's there was a question we were talking about. We had got to the place. I think that final question last night was around how can we support one another? And there was a comment that I kind of expounded on in terms of staying in our lane. Now, I think that's critically important. So I want to say, I forgot who made that comment. We should be staying in our lane. But oftentimes when I think about that, I don't think about that in the space of community. I think about that in the space of activity. In other words, oftentimes what gets us in trouble is when God has, in my mind, when God has equipped us with skills, talents, and abilities to be running in a certain lane, but we don't want to run in that lane. We want to run in this lane. I tend to believe we went through a season where we had so many churches, and some would argue I'd rather have more churches than less church. I don't know if I agree with that, and I'm just thinking about that in terms of capacity, in terms of building space. So if you have 15 churches on one block, that kind of defeats the purpose for me. I don't understand that, right? I don't understand how coming out of COVID, there weren't conversations around maybe even combining, right? I've talked about it before. Sometimes you decrease or come down in order to explode back up. But those are just some things that I kind of think about. So when I think about, when I talk about staying in lanes, I'm not necessarily talking about being busybodies, being in people's business, right? I think that's that's something else all to itself. But really, when I think about it in terms of processes. What am I doing? What are you doing? And how can I stay focused on where I'm supposed to be versus being so concerned about the lane that you're running in? And I think we lose sight of that, and that pulls us into all of these judgments, right? When we fail to realize, hey, you know, even I may be in a lane and you may think it's a great lane, but yet in that lane there's struggles, there's proclivities, there are hardships, there's hangups and everything like that. You know, sometimes we look at people who can really preach, and you say, "Oh man, I could do that," till you get the opportunity to do it, and then you understand it's not as easy as some of us make it look. Some of us make it look, and that could be said for any task or gift that somebody might have. You look over there and you say, "Oh man, I could do it better than that," till you have the opportunity to do it, and then you discover, yeah, it's not as easy as I thought it was. You know, they make it look easy. They make it look easy, and so we kind of got out of that kind of thing. I expounded on that, and I began to talk about how if all of us are kind of keeping to ourselves and we're never sharing anything, then how can we as a collective community, as a collective group, how can we in fact help one another, right? And while we see all of these scriptures in the Bible talking about pray for one another, it talks about calling folk together. If there's any sick among you, let them, call on the elders or whatever. But if nobody is saying that they have any issues and they're making assumptions that we should just know what is going on with them, how can we really get to our places of healing, to our places of breakthrough, to our places of understanding? And oftentimes I said it's because many of us don't want to share our mess. We fail to realize that mess is a part of our story, all of our stories, and that you have to get to the place where your mess no longer troubles you. And what do I mean by that? Because at some point in your life, you have to understand that you can never get. Let me say it like this: too often, what we do, we're trying to figure out ways to make up for that moment, right? So say I'm going through something, you're going through something or whatever, and you have a moment where you just go off, right? You just had a moment. And then we spend the rest of our days trying to make up for that moment, failing to realize that you can never get that moment back. That you could never get that moment back. And so you end up regretting your regrets. And that's the worst thing that you can do, is regret your regrets, because you can never get back moments that have passed. What you can do is learn from them. What you can do is grow from them. What you can do is even change from them, but you can never get that moment back. So in a moment, in a space of time, if I hurt somebody intentionally and or unintentionally with what I may say or what I may do or what I may not do, here's the reality: I can never get that moment back. Never. And so this is why I say, even in those moments when you get upset and you get angry, it's okay. It's okay. Take that moment to be upset. The Bible says you can be angry. Take that moment to be upset. Take your 5 seconds, take your 20 seconds to do whatever it is that you may need to do to get that kind of energy out of you, and then move on, because you can never get those moments back. And what we tend to do is hold on to those moments forever. And then those moments end up crippling us. Why? Because what do? We're so afraid, man, I hope nobody ever finds that out. Or, man, I'm so sorry that I said that, or I'm so sorry that I did that. And it ends up crippling us and preventing us from growing, from expanding, from moving on. I'm in the family that says, you tell it before they tell it, because can't nobody tell your story like you can tell your story. And if you are unwilling to tell it, then you open up the window for other people to tell your story. Now, here's the thing, man. If people are saying whatever they may want to say, and it's not true, then I would argue you shouldn't even give that any energy. But you also have to understand, that you can't get that specific moment back. And many of us allow those specific moments to cripple us. Are you understanding what I'm saying? In some circles they call it the walk of shame. You know what I mean? And you spend the next 10, 15 years of your life every day replaying that walk of shame. Instead of you saying, man, hey, it was a moment, it happened. I cannot get that moment back. All I can do is grow from that, learn from that, develop from that, strengthen that. In some cases, change that. Because some of us sometimes are running around feeling guilt about hurting somebody, and you never even know that you hurt them. But you're like, man, what happened to them? Why they ain't talking to me? Why they ain't saying nothing? Because it takes courage to confront your stuff. And many times people say, oh, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want no drama. I just want peace. But can I tell you tonight, peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is not the absence of conflict. All you got to do is look at Jesus. Jesus comes to make peace, but him making peace did not come without conflict. Some of y'all are going to go back and read your Bible and get that in the morning. He comes as the Prince of Peace, the everlasting Father. He is the essence of peace and love and all of those things. He comes to bring peace, but that peace does not come without conflict. They call him everything. Call him a devil. They're upset with his form of ministry. They're upset with the people who he's hanging around with. All the way. They falsely accuse him. He ends up being locked up in jail. And then when Pilate says, hey, there's a loophole that this innocent man can be set free, these folk take a thief and release him instead of releasing Jesus. He goes to a cross and he's ridiculed even on the cross, even as he's dying. If you be the Son of God, get yourself down. The guilty man who is there with him on another cross looks at him with ridicule and says, if you really who you are, get us down and get yourself down and get us down too. It took the other man, the other guilty man, to look over and tell him, be quiet, this man is innocent. And then Jesus gives some wonderful words to him. Hey, today I will see you in my kingdom. So never, never think that peace means it's the absence of conflict. In order to get to some of your peaceful spaces, you're going to have to confront some stuff. You're going to have to deal with some stuff, and just trying to ignore some things will not make them better. Some things, to get your peace, You got to deal with it. You got to deal with your inner pain. You got to deal with your inner struggle. You got to deal with your inner truth. You've got to know who you are. And sometimes discovering who you are to get to your place of peace can be painful. Because it might be coming to grips with your past. It might be coming to grips with your situation. It might be coming to a moment where you just say, man, this will not work. And I've given it all that I could give it, and I've tried everything that I could try. But if I'm going to get to my place of peace, I've got to move from this. And if we are going to help one another make it through these struggles and make it through these good moments together, if nobody is talking, how can you find help? Now that's humanity. That's humanity to humanity, but that also applies in terms of divinity. If you never talk to Jesus, you just make the assumption that Jesus will help, but you never tell him your problems. You never come to the altars of your life and lay your burdens down and leave them there with Jesus. Don't be like some folk. Come to the altar, lay them down only to pick them back up and carry them back with them. Life is full of embarrassing stuff, embarrassing moments, embarrassing situations. Here's the good news about God. The good news about God is that some of the stuff that could be in, some of the crazy thoughts that we had, God don't. He has covered some of those things for us. But if we're going to rock in community together, it can't be a community of silence. It can't be a community full of shame. It can't be a community where nobody feels safe to share. To talk about their trials, their tribulations. Can I help you tonight that your testimony may not end on a good note? Your testimony might end with, I'm yet in process. I'm yet going through, I'm yet discovering, but I'm not where I was. Trying to get to where I need to be, but I'm yet in process. But I'm not ashamed from that which I have come. And if you cannot come into safe places among the people of God and share your heart and not walk away with judgment and confusion, then I would ask the question as Paul said, then our faith is in vain. And we see examples of that over and over and over of Jesus, where folk are trying to prevent Jesus from coming to Jesus, feeling like them coming to Jesus is not worth Jesus. And Jesus reminds them over and over and over again, that's why I'm here. The woman with the issue of blood is pressing her way through, but the people around Jesus is trying to prevent her from touching him. Don't miss that. Zacchaeus is up in the sycamore tree. He is the tax collector. Jesus, he is not wanted amongst the people of God, but Jesus looks up, sees him, and says, today I must dine with you. Jesus goes to the Pharisee's house, and the prostitute, the woman of the night, comes and washes his feet. And the Pharisee, the The saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost type of person said, if you knew the type of person she was, you wouldn't let her do that, Jesus. You wouldn't let her touch you. And Jesus has to remind him, I was a guest at your house. I came in. You didn't offer me water to wash my feet. You didn't offer me a towel. Jesus is reminding each and every one of us that he has called us to come together, to touch one another, to reach one another, to care for one another. And that's how we support one another. I believe God is in the business of turning our messes into miracles. But here is the reality. Many of us are so scarred by our mess that we won't go through the process of walking into our miracle. And sometimes the first step of moving from your mess into your miracle is by simply talking about it, sharing it. Stop allowing it to have control over your life. Because here is the reality, man. Here's the reality. All of our lives, in all of our lives, at some point in our lives, we have all experienced a form of mess. It may not be to the level of mess that you would, because we tend to try to put levels on things. But here's the reality. My pain, there is something in the medical field that they talk about, the tolerance of pain, right? Tolerance of pain. And so even though you might be the person who can tolerate a whole bunch of pain, and you want to look down at the person who cannot tolerate as much pain, the reality is it's still pain. And so we have to stop equating that, here's the reality. Pain is pain. And some things that may not hurt me or cause me to go into despair may cause somebody else to go into despair, because pain is pain. And mess is mess. And it's all according to your perspective. So you got to get to the place where you say, man, I'm messed up, but I'm okay now. I learned from it. I'm not going to allow it to hold me down or hold me back. You got to get to the place where you say, fear, you will no longer hold me captive by the mistakes of my life, or by just me not having enough knowledge to operate the way that I was supposed to operate. Because here is the thing, sometimes we're holding people accountable to things that they were never even taught, that they didn't even know. And that's why I asked this on last night. How do you really define family? Because one person defines family as this, another may define family as this, and we're holding to this generic form or this generic definition of what that is and trying to hold everybody accountable. And they may not have been taught what you were taught or learned what you learned. So that's why everybody deserves a little grace. And we want to create spaces where people understand that in this space, we all got some mess. We all carry some baggage. We've all been hurt. And at some point in our life, we have done some hurt. But just as God has given us grace, we want to give you grace too. So we got to cultivate spaces and places where people feel safe to share so their messes can be turned into miracles. Man, I didn't mean to go off on that. Tonight was just supposed to be a kickback night, but I hope I answered that question from last night. I hope I did. I'm done. Kind of went a little deep down on a Friday night, but are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? If you're picking up what I'm putting down, yeah, let everybody in the space say, I know that's right. I know that's right. So, hey, it's Friday. It's Friday, man. I sure do appreciate each and every one of you all. Make sure, hey, Sundays with LHBC, Lord willing, is around the corner, 10:15 on Sunday mornings. Make sure that you invite somebody into the space to hang out with us for a little while, about an hour, just lifting up the name of Jesus. Even on tomorrow, if you have not had a chance, the Life Center, the first session of the women coming together to deal with COVID and mental health. If you have not received that information, please inbox or text Shakira so that she can give you the link for tomorrow. Just a space, what I talked about tonight, a space that we are trying to cultivate for men, a space for women where you can come in and find healing amongst one another, not church or anything like that, but just real people having real conversations. So if you have not received the link, you want to be a part of the first session of the women tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time, make sure that you inbox Lady Shakira or that you text her and she will get the link over to you. We're asking the men and the women, hey, give us 1 hour a month for the next 6 months just to come together and share. That's all a part of the work that we're doing as it relates to the LHBC Life Center. If you have not connected into that page, make sure that you go ahead and like that page as well. Make sure you're liking all of our spaces, Pastor R.D. Wade on the YouTube side, the Facebook side, the Twitter side, the Instagram side. Yeah, we're at all of those spaces, and you get a little bit of different content in all of those spaces. Make sure you're getting connected with the Life Center as well, LHBC Life Center, and our LHBC online community page. Make sure that you get connected there as well. All right. Let's get out of here tonight with a little foot stomping on a Friday night. Yeah, everybody just put your hands together real quick if you don't mind. If you really don't mind, let me know if you're feeling it. Here we go. I got to get out of here. It's been wonderful hanging out with you all tonight. This Wade's Word of the Day. We're here every night, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Make sure that you tag, text, and tell somebody. Tell them to come on into the space and hang out with us. I'm out of here. Love y'all so much. Talk to you real soon. Come on. I just go to the church for Christmas, okay? Hey! What y'all know about that? Hey, hey, I gotta go, hey! Hey! We live streaming together, LIF! We live streaming together. I gotta go talk to y'all. Everybody be blessed.